Hello again, and welcome to this video clip series that I'm calling My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. I wanted to quote, talking about what we had talked about just before. We're talking about in general about the pitfalls in the world and the church today with this crisis at all levels. And the devil offers his traps on the right side as well as the left side. And so there's this quote I'd like to offer that Our Lady offered to through Don Stefano Gobi in talking about Freemasonry, which was she gave in June 13th, 1989. And you can find more on this if you read all the messages in June of 1989. She goes into detail how the Freemasonry, ecclesial Freemasonry, works to destroy the church. In this message of June 13th, 1989, she says, "The black beast, like a leopard, indicates Freemasonry. The beast with the two horns, like a lamb, indicates Freemasonry infiltrated into the interior of the church, that is to say, ecclesiastical masonry, which has spread especially among the members of the hierarchy. This Masonic infiltration in the interior of the church was already foretold to you by me at Fatima, when I announced to you that Satan would enter in even to the summit of the church. If the task of masonry is to lead souls to perdition, bringing them to the worship of false divinities, the task of ecclesiastical masonry, on the other hand, is that of destroying Christ and his church, building a new idol, namely a false Christ and a false church." And then Our Lady continues in this message, another message, December 19th, 1973. She says, "In fact, at the very moment when Satan will be enthroned as Lord of the world and will think himself now as sure victor, I myself will snatch the prey from his hands. In a trice, he will find himself empty-handed, and in the end, the victory will be exclusively my son's and mine. This will be the triumph of my Immaculate Heart in the world. I have need of you," talking about priests, "and of your prayer to realize the great plan of triumph of my Immaculate Heart." Another message Our Lady says in February 23, 1974, she says, "Behold, when everything will have come tumbling down, all that will remain will be the strength of their tears that will compel me to intervene in an amazing and terrible way. And my triumph will begin with these beloved sons, my priests." And then I'd like to just another message here. No, I think they'll take care of it right there. What I'd like to do now is to begin talking about when I was working on the internet. I ran into many times, I have become members of 200, 300, or 400 Catholic groups. And I began to run into rather frequently what many of you probably know about, or I hope you're not members, of perhaps the false seer that has more followers than perhaps any other false seer in the world today. And I'm talking about Maria Divine Mercy, who also wrote what is called the Book of Truth, Bot. And so I wrote one of my first articles on this that I wrote and published, and then I tried to help people on Facebook. It was called False Security Maria Divine Mercy, MEDM. And So I'd like to just talk about this because many people have fallen into this group, and although I have written much on the topic of discernment of private revelation due to the journey of life that God has led me through, I talked about before Nisida and so on. Recently, several people have expressed their disappointment that I do not approve Maria of Divine Mercy with the Book of Truth. Many people who approve the Book of Truth also approve of Our Lady to Gobi. In other words, to the priests, Our Lady's beloved sons, which is approved by hundreds of bishops and cardinals and thousands of priests. And I had many of my experiences, at Nisida that I talked about before. That, I followed my parents in this false apparition in the United States, Nisida, Wisconsin, and when you get into a group like that, you're surrounded by the sectarian mentality, and it's very difficult to get out of that because your only input is what the group, you might say the cult, offers. And it was only after about more than two years that I began with God's grace, to begin to realize something was wrong. In particular, when these Franciscans there went to Rome, and Cardinal Oddi said to them, you must work through the local ordinary, which they refused to do, because a local ordinary was against this false apparition. And that's when I realized things were not right, and it was not based on the teaching of the church or humility. And you can find this in my article, even on Wikipedia, Nisida, Wisconsin Wikipedia. It references with the title of My Personal Reasons Why I Left the Shrine at Nisida, Wisconsin. And because this book was instrumental in helping several hundred people to leave the cult in Wisconsin in 1983. Talking about revelations, private revelation, and all these things, because many people, there's really two extremes. Two extremes to say all people, simple people, a lot of people take all true revelations because it's from heaven and so on, like they did it in Nisida, Wisconsin. Since it's from heaven, it's above the church and so on. The other extreme is to throw them all out. But what's needed is in the middle. In fact, I'd like to read to you this prophetic private revelations are so important that Satan seeks in every way to diminish their divulgation, influence, and effect. In 1882, Christ revealed to the stigmatist Maria Julia Janet of France that in the last days a seemingly unlimited amount of false revelations will arise from hell like a swarm of flies, a last attempt of Satan to choke and to destroy the efficacy of the true revelations by false ones. This indicates to us that these revelations are important enough for Satan to try to diminish their effectiveness in helping to alert souls of the very great danger in this period of time, when even in Matthew 24, even the elect will be deceived if possible. But this also indicates that there are many false revelations, and this one must be wise and prudent, especially in regards to recent revelations in which the proper church authorities have not made any pronouncements yet. We read in St. John, in his first letter, chapter 4, he writes, Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are of God, for many false prophets have gone out into the world. That's from St. John. And in my written work on private revelation on the cult at Nisida, Wisconsin, I quoted St. Thomas Aquinas, the angelic doctor of the church, who tells us in regards to private revelation that, and quote, the prophets who foretold the coming of Christ could not continue further than John, who with his finger pointed to Christ actually present. Nevertheless, as Jerome says on this passage, this does not mean that there were no more prophets after John. For we read in the Acts of the Apostles that Agabus and the 4 maidens, daughters of Philip, prophesied. John too wrote a prophetic book about the end of the church, and at all times there have not been lacking persons having the spirit of prophecy, not indeed for declaration of any new doctrine of faith, but for the direction of human acts. This is in the Summa Theologica. I will end this video clip here. May God bless you and Mary guide you.